Going to just scroll up here so I can retweet whatever gets tweeted out, I assume.
I'm wondering if it's going to tweet out right away or if it's going. Yep, there we
Oh,
are.
no.
Awesome.
There it is. We're live on the deal. I better not click on that. I'm going to get some feedback.
Don't get too nervous, man. Don't get too nervous. Everybody's watching. But here we go, man. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dolphins Detail. We're so excited to have you with us. We're trying something new. We're live both on Twitter and YouTube. Be sure to check us out there. The links to those accounts will be in the bio below. But Merrick, man, it's nice to see you again. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sun's out, guns out once again. It's not quite summer yet, but it sure feels like it. After a rainy Monday, we had a nice Tuesday, now a nice Wednesday. Hoping I can continue to ride this nice weather train through the weekend. So we'll see how it goes. How are you doing?
And I'm great. The sun's shining, which it's a beautiful day, which means it's a great time to be inside podcasting. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Funny how that works. But man, it's Wednesday, right? Yeah, it is Wednesday, and we had a little bit of news, and I'm excited to hear your opinion because you weren't the biggest fan of it. So let's start with the first one here.
Right.
It was announced that the Miami Dolphins will play the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 9 in Frankfurt, Germany. So when you read that, I assume you were a little upset because I think you're going to try to go to that game.
Yeah, I don't live too far away from Kansas City. I actually have a couple friends who are Chiefs fans who have season tickets to the Chiefs, and they're always trying to get me to go down there to watch games with them. But they're like, "Oh, we're playing the Chargers," and I'm like, "I don't care." And they're like, "Oh, we're playing the Raiders." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care." But this was the year they were like, "Hey, Dolphins are visiting Kansas City. Come on down." And I was going to go with them, and if not with them, I was going to bring my boys down, my two young children, to go check out a game in Kansas City, but that ain't happening now. I'm not flying all the way over to Frankfurt, Germany to watch the Dolphins and the Chiefs battle it out over there, even though I did take 4 years of German in high school. So, ich spreche Deutsch.
All I can tell you is Das Boot is the boat. That's pretty much all I got for you. Have you ever been to Germany?
No, I've never been to Germany. I'd like to go. It's kind of on the bucket list. Like I said, I speak a little German, enough to be able to get around and find the places I want to see and eat the food I want to eat and certainly drink the beers I want to drink. But yeah, it's probably not in the cards this upcoming fall for me. Kind of a busy guy.
Yeah, I definitely don't blame you, especially spur of the moment. It's hard to plan a trip to Germany in 5 months, just out of
Right.
the blue.
I don't
I
even
lived
think I
in
have a
Germany.
passport.
Those things last forever, though. If you get one, you're set for like 15 years. It's incredible.
This is funny.
Um,
Actually, I did have a passport when I was younger, um, but I lost it on an airplane when I was 18, and I maybe wasn't the most responsible 18-year-old because I was like, "Man, screw it. I don't plan on going out of the country again." So I never even reported it lost or stolen. So somebody's probably out there using an old passport of mine to do some illegal activities, and I don't even know about it. I'm gonna get stopped at the border next time I try to leave the country, get arrested.
your losing of a passport meant alcohol for many, many college kids. I went to Germany once. It was an exchange program in high school. I don't even know how I afforded to go on this trip, to be completely honest. But we were going to Italy, and it was just a layover in Germany. So I was there for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour, and it was the most generic thing ever because we're just sitting there by the gate. Guy absolutely wasted at 4 a.m, and his friend just carrying him through. I'm like, this is the Germany experience. We got it all out of our way at once. It was incredible because he legitimately couldn't walk, and at 4 a.m. after a long flight, I mean, that just kind of was absolutely hilarious. But Merrick, as someone who travels a lot, I have some advice that I learned during this trip. I was in high school, going away out of the country for the first time, and it's kind of scary. I'll be honest with you. And I remember talking to my dad that morning, and he gave me a little advice. He goes, when you're in the airport, whatever you're doing, whatever is going on, do not say hi if you see your friend named Jack. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, if you scream hi, Jack, in the airport, they will arrest you. I'm like, God damn it, Dad. Like, really? That's what you're hitting us with?
That's what dads
But
are for, man. The classic
oh,
dad joke right there.
hit it absolutely out of the park. I don't even know what that's from, but man, that was an absolute hilarious one. I kind of am upset about this one too, just for the fact of I think Tyreek Hill would have played the villain returning to Kansas City so well. I think he would have done it perfectly. Kind of jump on me if I'm wrong. Kind of would be like a wrestling vibe in a way. He'd come out, I think he'd have his chest puffed out, and just kind of ready to tussle with whatever fan will talk back to him.
Yeah, he's already talking smack to the
Exactly.
Chiefs on Twitter whenever he gets an opportunity. I think he was in Kansas City a couple weekends back, doing like a podcast or something with some of his ex teammates, and he was talking trash on there on that podcast, talking about how he couldn't wait to score a touchdown at Arrowhead, and now we're all like, oh, it's not going to happen. But I believe it was our good buddy Houts who said it's just going to have to wait until the AFC Championship game. Or maybe that was you. I think you said that too, Houts.
That's kind of the key. You just got to figure out that path. I don't know. Maybe that game will be played at Hard Rock Stadium.
That'd be nice.
That'd be a doozy. Uh, I think there was one other note about that. Jalen Ramsey. I think he was like this is gonna be great, so much fun, and then he actually stepped that back and said, "Nah, I wish we saw Tyreek in Kansas City, but it doesn't look like we're getting that." I don't know what they were thinking when like. Are we just like are we too big of homers when we were like this would actually be a pretty interesting opening night game? Are we being too deep as homers in a situation like that?
Yeah, probably. If you look at the Chiefs' schedule, they have a lot of really cool games that are going to happen in Kansas City. I think the Eagles are visiting, Chargers, obviously, as a division opponent, visiting. I think the Bengals are visiting once
Mhm.
again. So there's plenty of options to choose from. The Tyreek Hill storyline would have been a great one, though. So I don't think we're being too much of homers by saying that would have been a great one to kick off the season with. But, when looking at the Chiefs' schedule, they do have plenty of other options as well. I just hate, it starts at 9:30 in the morning for you on the East Coast. That's going to be 8:30 a.m. start time for me here in the Midwest, and I'll be up. I'll drink some coffee when I'm watching this game, but yeah, man, I was just looking forward to attending this one. Like you said, looking forward to Tyreek Hill's return to Arrowhead, but alas, it's not to be. Um, you know, but again, we'll have the playoffs. I think. I hope.
Are you I mean it being out there, it does make things a little different. I actually am kind of a huge fan of the 9:30 games, wake up with a little bit of football. Would you say that's probably the earliest or would you do you just like flat out we live in a 1 o'clock society and that is it?
Well, my games start at noon in the Midwest here,
Already
which
beat
is
me to it.
that's like perfect timing because I get to eat lunch with my game, right?
Mhm.
Whenever I'm on the East
Throw it
Coast
up when it's
visiting,
over.
going to a game, I'm like so lost in the morning. I'm like, what's going on here? Why is football taking so long? And then I'm lost what to do with lunch. You can't push lunch. You can't push lunch. I'll be there with a hot dog up my sleeve. Like, I think you should leave. If you haven't seen that on Netflix, you've been living under a rock. It's a great show. I think you should leave. Anyways, um, I'll be fine. My only problem is my kids do a lot of sports, and
Mhm.
my youngest son plays a game called deck hockey. It's like ice hockey, but on plastic, which makes it much easier for the kids to play. And those are always on Sunday mornings, and they finish just in time for football Sunday. But there's going to be one going on during this Dolphins Chiefs game, I assume, and I'm going to have to decide who I love more, the Dolphins or my own son. And it's a toss up right now. I don't know. Hopefully, he's not watching this.
I think you should scout and say you got to win the week before. Whoever wins the week before, that's what you watch. Just
Yeah, if
ride that hot hand.
Yeah, if the Dolphins are on a winning streak, then you know what is I've been to all your other hockey games. We're good. I'll be there next week.
You're going through a rebuild. We've seen this song and dance. Just go work on cutting them quarters. We do have another game to talk about here, and it does feature a division rival in a game that is happening for the first time ever. We have a Black Friday game, so week 12, the Dolphins will play the Jets at 3 p.m. Another very unique time. Uh, got your Amazon Prime ready to go? Are you going to be able to watch that, stream that game on Friday?
Yeah, I'll definitely watch, but that's stupid. That's so dumb. Let's play Friday football like it's high school or something like that. I just when looking at the two announcements today, the Germany game and then the away game on the road in late November in New York on a Friday, short week. Like that's tough. That's a
Mhm.
lot of travel in the beginning of the month, and then you hope that they get the bye week in week 10. But last time the Dolphins went overseas, they did not get a bye week the following week, so there's no guarantee that's happening. I think a lot of people assume that's going to happen, and maybe it will. But see, you got the early travel in November to Germany and back, and then you have the late travel on a short week on the road on Friday against a team that's going to be much improved, the New York Jets. So I see a lot of people excited about it because they're viewing it as a primetime game for the Dolphins. And I love the primetime games, kind of. I actually kind of hate the primetime games because that's an opportunity for all your friends to message you and be like,
Yep.
"Man, Dolphins suck so
Totally.
bad" when when they play poorly, and for some reason they always seem to play poorly on primetime. But they got this road game, short week. You worry about injuries, you worry about having enough rest to perform up to standards, and then you got to get on the plane and travel once more. So, and then I think it was just tweeted out right before we started recording here, going live here. The Dolphins traveled the third most miles, air miles, out of any team in the NFL this season. So there's a lot of travel woes and wear and tear on the body with those types of things that are going to come into play with the Dolphins this season. Starting with that Germany game and then continuing on Black Friday. Which why? That's not a real holiday. That's not a thing. I don't get it.
The biggest issue here is the NFL just doesn't understand geography for the fact that the Miami Dolphins are in the AFC East when there is actually a division called the AFC South. I
Yeah.
would, man, imagine the history, how different it would be if we didn't have to deal with the Patriots for the last 20 years. Being a Black Friday game, though, I gotta ask, what do you think they're gonna do? There's gonna be some weird things popping up on that screen telling us what to buy, and it's gonna be so. I don't know if it's gonna be jerseys because I think that's like a Fanatics thing. But man, they're going to market some very unique products, and I would like to get your thoughts on what those might even be.
Maybe they'll sell some leftovers on
Ooh,
on TV. Maybe you can buy a full kit like you used to be able to do it like Boston Market. I don't have Boston Market out here anymore. We used to. It closed down. You probably still got it up by you, near Boston. That would make a lot of sense. But yeah, maybe they'll have some specials on some leftover turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, cornbread casserole, something like that.
ooh, and they'll give it to you in Tupperware that just they printed the Dolphins logo on it, so they can charge you like
Perfect.
$50 for it.
Boom,
Yep,
you
I
nailed it.
think I think we just get them on the phone. We have it all figured out. Yeah, very weird game, very weird time to have it. I don't. I guess sure, whatever. You have 3 games on Thursday. You got 1 game on Friday. That really weakens the Sunday slate. But hey, I guess it is what it is. Barrett, any final thoughts you have here on the schedule before we talk a little bit about the running backs?
Well, it does seem like the NFL schedule makers are valuing the Dolphins as much as we are. Right now, you're getting a handful of announcements trickling in, leaking before the official announcement comes on Thursday. But already the Dolphins have 2 nationally televised games where all eyes are going to be on the Miami Dolphins and their opponents. So if they can add a Monday night football game, a Sunday night football game, hopefully not a Thursday night game. I really don't like those Thursday games either, but just something like that. Another one of those primetime games, maybe 2, maybe 3 more. Then I think we're going to
Oh,
get more primetime Dolphins football than we have in the very recent past here. And I think it's warranted. You have Tua, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, having a career year last year until the concussion issues at the end of the season. You got maybe the best wide receiver duo in the league with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. You have the addition of Jalen Ramsey, pair him up with Xavier Howard, and not to mention the addition of Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator for this team. There are high expectations for the Miami Dolphins, not just within the fan base, but I think we can now confirm that the national media and the schedule makers and the NFL, the powers that be within the NFL, view the Dolphins as a primetime team, a team that everybody should be watching this upcoming season, and that feels good. First time in a long time. It feels good to get that recognition.
and with that too, I mean, Mike McDaniel, those primetime games, everyone's mic'd up. I mean, come Monday morning, you're gonna have, or I guess whenever they play in a primetime game, that next
Come
morning there's gonna
Saturday
be
morning.
Saturday morning, we're gonna have some real funny Mike McDaniel quotes, comments like that. Sorry, I do have one last question on this. We Both of these games are road games for the Dolphins, which I think is a little bit having your cake and eating it too. Not only do we get the prime time, we still have our home games. Let's say they do have, let's say, 2 more primetime games. Do you think they'd both be in Miami to balance that out, or do you think we're kind of riding a little hot streak just the way the schedule's shaping out?
You would think that they'd give Miami a primetime home game or two, especially later in the year when the weather's still nice in Miami and the rest of us are freezing our asses off in the winter weather, the
Awful.
ice and the snow. I think I think it's nice to get that on TV. They like flaunt it in everybody's faces too, with all the shots of the beach. And it's like December 21st, and people are still out there in bikinis just running down like Baywatch. And I'm always like, man, that looks real nice right about now. But yeah, I could definitely see a primetime game at Hard Rock Stadium or two. Maybe a Monday Night Football game, maybe a division game. Buffalo Bills coming to town. Maybe they avoid that sunshine that they seem to hate so much. Living in Buffalo, you don't see a whole hell of a lot of it. So I know it's a new experience for those Bills fans. But yeah, we'll see what happens when Thursday rolls around. But it's NFL season all year round. We're sitting here on May 10th talking about NFL football because the news just dropped, and we don't get meaningful football for another 4 months.
That lovely, lovely 24/7 cycle. But that is it. We have 15 minutes in the books about the schedule, Merrick. Let's turn the page. We're going to continue our Down to the Details series. We did the entire defense, every single position group on our YouTube channel, Dolphins Detail. Please go check those out. Give us your thoughts. Any comments you can leave on those really helps other people find it and share their opinions too. So we'd greatly appreciate any comments, any subs, anything like that. We'd love to have you guys joining us. So, Merrick, running back, we are going to answer 4 questions. Where do things stand with this group? What makes them good? What needs to happen this offseason? And what does success look like on the field? So to start, where do things stand with this group? Because it's looking kind of like a full house.
Hey, this is a full house. You got a full group. They returned the entire unit from last year with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Savon Ahmed, and Miles Gaskin. All of those guys are back, but they have another addition as well. Rookie third-round pick out of Texas A&M, Devon Achane, another speedster, another guy that's going to add to the quote-unquote track team, as everybody's been saying as of late. We'll see where he fits into the mix, especially during his rookie season. But if Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson remain the top two, option A and option B, I think the Dolphins are in a good spot there. Both of those guys had career years with the Dolphins last year. And with Mike McDaniel, I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but with him vocally committing to running the ball more, I think you could see both of them top their top seasons that they had last year. Both of them could top that coming into next year, depending on how much run A-Chain does get.
I think both Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert ranked in the top 15 in terms of yards per carry last year. And at 31 years old, Mayor, can you guess how many people on this Dolphins roster are older than 29?
4.
You would have been right, but they signed Tyler Kroft and Chosen Anderson just turned 30. So that turns 4 into 6. Justin Bethel, Raheem Mostert, Tron Armstead, and Kendall Lamb are the others. But man, that's that youth movement. And you look at this group specifically, Mostert, we just said is 31, Wilson 26, A-Chain 21, Salvon Ahmed, I think is a sneaky 24, Miles Gaskin 26. And we have to mention Alec Ingold because while he isn't going to get all those carries, it's a roster spot. And it's going to be a very interesting development to see how these guys turn out, what the Miami Dolphins try to do with all of them. Do you think it's safe to say Alec Ingold? I think they brought in, they have another fullback that I think they signed to a futures deal. His name sounds like he should be an actor.
John Lovett?
John Lovett. Yep. That is it. Do you think Alec Ingold is that lock as the fullback again? I know he was really limited last year with that club near the end of the season, but he was still out there grinding, trying to do what he can to help.
Yeah, no, big fan of Alec Ingold. I thought he had a great year last year. He showed heart, he showed toughness, like you said, going out there with the club on the wrist, on the hand there. And Skylar Thompson's still trying to throw him passes, and he just looks at him like, "Bro, like, are you dumb? What are you doing?" But anyways, no, I think he's a lock to be starter at fullback. Again, knock on wood, barring any unforeseen injury circumstance, which I hope we don't see. But Alec Ingold, great player, happy to have him. And this Shanahan system and now McDaniel system, they love their fullbacks.
And when we talk about what gives this group an edge, you just kind of hit the nail on the head. 3 of the 5 guys have thrived in this outside zone system. I think people forget Salvon Ahmed. His first team was actually the San Francisco 49ers. That was his first shot in the NFL before he made his way to Miami. Raheem Mostert, obviously from San Fran. Same with Jeff Wilson after they traded midseason. And I don't think we can devalue that at all because look at what happened to Chase Edmonds. They went from he ran an inside zone scheme for years in Arizona to go to the outside zone scheme, and he instantly just disappeared. He could not figure out how to get things moving.
Yeah, and now he's disappeared off the face of the earth. Really, I know he's in Denver. He got injured shortly after going to Denver, I believe. Just I don't know what's going on with Chase Edmonds, but he gone. We don't got to worry about him anymore. But you got Mostert, you got Wilson, you got the exciting addition of A Chain, and you have here in the notes here he had 2,400 yards while playing in the SEC. So it's not like he was going to playing a cupcake schedule, going against nobodies here. He was playing in the big boy division in college football, and he had 2,400 yards despite being a pretty small running back, compared to others in his position group across college football and now across the NFL. So he's a small guy, but he doesn't necessarily run like a small guy. Just really, the more I dissect and digest this A chain pick, the more I get excited for it. Another weapon for this offense, and another guy with just home run hitting speed. A guy that can take it to the house at any point. And I'm hoping we get to see a few opportunities for him to do that this upcoming season.
I gotta ask because I think a lot of people like aging just for the idea of that adding the speed to the offense. But people are still going out and calling him a change of pace back. What on earth does it mean to be a change of pace back when everybody's just fast? There's a bunch of lightning there. I don't see much thunder on this team.
There's fast, and then there's slightly faster, and there's slightly faster than that. So that's what the Dolphins want to do. They want to run past you. They want everybody throwing up the cheetah deuces as they're sprinting past. I think honestly, at this point, change of pace just means getting a fresh set of legs in there, giving guys breathers, and having somebody who can do everything that everybody else can do as well. And I like A-Chain because while being a really fast guy, if you watch some of his tape at Texas A&M, he wasn't just strictly a guy who was trying to beat you to the outside, turn it upfield and get the home run carry there. He ran between the tackles quite a bit, and he did it relatively well. And he was able to bounce off tacklers, break tackles, and keep runs going there. So I'm really excited for this guy. I'm really excited to see what he does. But that doesn't kind of squash my excitement for Mostert and Wilson as well. I was really excited when they traded for Wilson at the trade deadline last season. Then he came in and made an immediate impact, especially in that Chicago Bears game. He catches the pass, dives for the end zone, gets in there for the touchdown. That was a really cool highlight play. And then Mostert really turned it on at the end of the year before getting hurt and being forced to miss that game in the playoffs against Buffalo. But if you remember the earlier game in Buffalo, the primetime game in the snow there, he was lighting it up, and he had multiple highlight reel carries, breaking tackles, dragging defenders downfield, and it looked like he was just on another level for that game. So if McDaniel recommits to the run like he did when he was in San Francisco as the run game coordinator, and he said multiple times, and Raheem Mostert had an interview where he talked about our presser, where he talked about how McDaniel apologized for not running the ball more. Your head coach isn't going to come to you, apologize for not running the ball more, and then not run the ball in the upcoming season. So I think you are going to see more carries by these Dolphins running backs. And as long as this offensive line situation gets situated, then I think you're going to see a productive rushing attack for the Dolphins in 2023.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert set career highs in both carries and yards. It was the second time in his career he played 16 games. Jeff Wilson sprinkled on another 176 carries for 860 yards. That's combined between Miami and San Fran. But I like you mentioning what Mike McDaniel said, and I don't think I really enjoyed what this team did late in the season because it was no secret that defenses were starting to clog the middle of the field. And I think that was the perfect chess move that the Dolphins were able to pull out. I think Buffalo was a team. All right, we're not going to let Jalen Waddle get 4th and 17 over our heads again. But all of a sudden, you got Raheem Mostert running to the outside, and these holes are opening up. So to me, that's how this offense is really going to hum throughout the year. It's if we can attack the middle of the field, we're going to score 40 points, but we can also grind out all the clock and just take these stretch runs, get 7-8 yards, and who knows, we'll pop one for 65 with the speed like Mostert or even A-Chain.
Yeah, a recommitment to the run game. I don't even know if it's a recommitment at this point. It might just be a commitment because when was the last time the Dolphins ran the ball well? I remember just a few short
When
years
Ryan
ago.
Fitzpatrick was the
Yeah,
leader.
Ryan Fitzpatrick was the leading rusher for the Dolphins. If we can get back to the days of Ricky and Ronnie or go back even before my time with Zonka and Mercury Morris and Jim Kick there. We can get back to that, but also have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the outside and Tua Tagovailoa feeding those guys early and often, but you have the run game to commit. And now you got Vic Fangio in this defense. Oh man, I'm getting a little worked up here. I might have to take a ice cold shower after we log off.
You're asking for too much power, man. A top tier passing game and a top tier running game, man. I don't know what I'd look. I'd be going bananas for something like that. Off-season priorities. Now, there's two directions we can go with this, and we're going to start with the one of, is this unit complete as is? There still continues to be a little bit of rumbling about a certain running back from Miami who might hit the market and might be available for a solid price. Any chance that Dalvin Cook is added to this group?
After the drafting of A-Chain, I personally would have been like, oh, okay, you know what? That's it. There's no more Dalvin Cook. It's not going to happen. But that didn't stop these rumors from swirling. They're still out there. There's still plenty of people who are in the know, well connected, with the Dolphins front office, who are saying Dalvin Cook to Miami is not dead, and it's still a possibility. Like you said, Dalvin Cook from the Miami area wants to come back home, and you have to wonder if the Vikings are going to give him that opportunity. It looks like a trade for Dalvin Cook is probably off the table unless they're willing to accept some pretty, minuscule compensation. Because it doesn't look like the Dolphins want to spend any more high draft picks on running backs like that. And he actually has a pretty hefty contract. He still has like 3 years left on his deal. I think only one of the years is guaranteed. Don't quote me on that, but he wouldn't be a cheap addition. So if Cook is to come to Miami, I think it's going to come in the form of him being released from the Vikings, and then the Dolphins basically being like, listen, dude, we feel pretty good with Mostert, pretty good with Wilson. We really like this guy, A-Chain, we just got back. And if anything happens to those guys, we still got Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin, two players who are really familiar with Miami and have familiarity with this system. So if you want to come home, Dalvin Cook, we can make it happen, but you're going to have to do it for pennies on the dollar. How badly do you want to be in Miami? And then if that happens and Dalvin Cook is willing to take, a below market deal, then you got to figure out how to make it work. Do you still have room for Mostert and Wilson? You're obviously not doing anything with A-Chain. You just drafted him. Could you see somebody trade for Mostert? Could you see somebody trade for Wilson? Or do you just let go of Gaskin and Ahmed and keep Cook, Mostert, Wilson, and A-Chain? Because that gets my blood boiling again there too. I get the goosebumps. I get excited for all four of those guys. But I don't know. If you're asking me like what percentage chance do I think that it's going to happen, there's still that logical part of my brain that goes, we're not doing this. We're good. We're good.
0% chance. I'm going.
Are you at 0?
1,000% 0. The amount of work you just described about just picking a running back, let alone in a team that doesn't like to run the football, get that out of here. Let Mike McDaniel go worry about other things. I think that's just a situation where it might cause more problems than good. You have all this talent. You got to get them on the field somehow. All of a sudden, every week, did we play the right guy? Is this guy have a hot hand? Is this guy a better matchup? I think they are headed in a right direction. I think they like the group they have now. And I think A-Chain was that final nail in the coffin where I don't think there's any chance that Dalvin Cook is on the radar whatsoever, no matter how cheap it is. I just think that's a step too far in terms of turning trades and salary cap off in Madden and just kind of having whatever you want.
It sounds like a fantasy football nightmare. Who do I start this week? Dalvin Cook, Raheem Mostert. Who do I got?
Speaking of fantasy nightmares, what are the offseason priorities? Because I don't think this team's going to sign anyone else. They got to figure it out. Dude, I don't know if you saw this, but there are so many of these fantasy football sites not only copping out, but actually confusing me quite a bit. ESPN's Mike Clay. Jeff Wilson is running back 34. Raheem Mostert is 5 behind him at 39. And then you have A-Chain at 51. That one makes sense. But the Wilson and Mostert thing kind of blew my mind. But what do
you think that is, though? Go ahead, finish it up.
Fantasy Pros. Wilson 41, Mostert 47. PFF Best Ball Rankings. This one gets me. Jeff Wilson 45, Raheem Mostert 46, Devon A-Chain 47. So
okay, that's just them. Yeah, that's just them going, oh, we don't know what the hell to do.
But seriously, why on earth are we putting Wilson in any situation ahead of Mostert? Just kind of seeing how that season ended. I mean, obviously, I think first you go to the injury issues, but it was a thumb. It's not like his leg fell off or anything. I think it was clear that he was the guy where Wilson was that nice change of pace, maybe a palate cleanser in a sense. But man, what on earth are they thinking?
I think the only things that you can look at are, Mostert's injury issues and then maybe the age thing with Mostert
Age,
being
yeah.
31 and Wilson being 26. Maybe Mostert, historically, running backs drop off a cliff after that age 30 season. Mostert got a little bit of a late start. He was an undrafted free agent, bounced around from practice squad to practice squad before really catching on in San Francisco. So he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. So you do wonder if he'll be all right there, but you also wonder if maybe that's why these fantasy analysts have Wilson ranked higher than Mostert in this offense. I don't personally get it myself. I do think McDaniel loves Raheem Mostert. And you didn't see Jeff Wilson on that presser, did you? It wasn't Jeff Wilson talking about how much McDaniel has apologized and saying he wants to run the ball. It was Raheem Mostert. So I think until he's not, Raheem Mostert is the Dolphins' RB1. And until Jeff Wilson surpasses him, then he's the RB2. And until Devon Achane takes over for that role, I think he's the RB3. And then Ahmed and Gaskin, if they're even on the roster by the time the season starts, they'll file in behind those three guys there.
Very weird. I mean, I don't know anybody in their right minds. If you're sitting there and both of them are on the board, you need to run. I don't know who in the right mind would ever take someone like Jeff Wilson over Raheem Mostert in that situation. Hey, I had Jeff Wilson on a team and he won me some games late last year, but that just still seems a little bananas. But Merrick, to wrap things up here, what does this unit look like on the field? Because I have some very ugly stats for you. Miami ranked 27th this year with 96 rushing yards per game. In 2021, they ranked 29th with 92 rushing yards per game. They were solid in 2020, a whopping 105 rushing yards, which was good for 21st. And then the magical 2019 season when Ryan Fitzpatrick led the team in rushing, where they were dead last with 72.3 rushing yards per game. How do you come out of the basement and how do you, I don't know, jump from 27? What you want your expectation to be top 15 at the least? How do they do that?
You know, I think it's all going to come down to what Mike McDaniel wants to do. He said, we've mentioned it multiple times now, but he says he wants to commit to the running game more so than he did last year. And so it's completely up to Mike McDaniel. If he calls more running plays, if he sticks with the run when the run is going well, like at times the Dolphins were running the ball well, and then inexplicably McDaniel just stopped calling run plays and just started throwing the ball all over the yard. Again, that late season game in Buffalo in prime time in the snow comes to mind. The Dolphins had a lead. The Dolphins were up, and then they were running the ball well with Raheem Mostert, and it just felt like Mike McDaniel, I don't know if he got scared or if he got cute or what the deal was, but he just stopped running the ball. So it's really going to come down to Mike McDaniel committing to the run and letting these guys cook. Dalvin Cook, I don't know. And what I would like to see more of, not just a commitment to the run. I'd like to see some more screenplays. I'd like to see some more checkdowns. I'd like to see some more dump offs. Tua threw the ball downfield more than any other quarterback last year. Past 10 yards, just chucking it. And he was successful doing it. So, I mean, we can't get too mad at that. But when the play's not there and you have a running back coming open in the flat, somebody's got to tell Tua it's okay to just check it down. Let your track team, your Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. Jeff Wilson's not a slow dude either. Like, he's the
Absolutely.
slowest of the three, but he's not slow. Let your track team make people miss. Let your track team break a tackle and turn it upfield, get you a first down, and who knows, maybe even get you a touchdown. I'd love to see some more of that, a commitment to the running game and, a commitment to some check down passes and some dump offs when it's called for.
What's up, Paul? Thanks for jumping in the comments here. It's good to see you. I hope we're not spouting too much crazy stuff for you here. But to your point about the screen game, it goes back to the chess match, right? The defenses are going to clog the middle of this field just because of how well Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle finds that open space. Those screen passes have such a great opportunity to turn into huge plays because of that track team. And this was a team that ranked 7th last year. They passed the ball about 62% of the time. They were 10th in 2020 at 59.7% of the time, but these are definitely two different type of offenses. 2020, it was get the ball out. We're too scared. You're going to take hits and sacks, so we got to just do 3-yard passes. 2022, man, it kind of felt like Mike McDaniel wanted to do party tricks all year long. It just seemed like, I don't know, you reached Little League and you just had your growth spurt and you were just launching every ball possible. And then you get that one pitcher who's like, I had a growth spurt too. And he's throwing like 70 in Little League. And all of a sudden you're like, oh no, my superpower isn't always there. So that to me is going to be the interesting thing when he knows to throw that changeup or stick to those runs to the outside. Because if you look at this team, one of their most positive plays was that Raheem Mostert run behind Teron Armstead. It seemed like that was kind of a bread and butter for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's a double-edged sword, right? The Dolphins were so good at throwing the ball downfield that it's really hard to be like, hey, stop doing that thing that you do really, really well. But you also, like you said, you want to throw the changeup in there. You want to keep defenses guessing. Keep them on their toes. When they think they know what's coming, you want to hit them with something else. You can't just try and force feed your offense. And when the Dolphins did that, that's when they got in trouble. Games against San Francisco, games against the LA Chargers. They tried to force feed their offense. They tried to say, hey, we're going to line up and we're going to be better than you. And unfortunately, in those two games, they weren't. And those two games were losses. And they were part of a long losing streak towards the end of the year that almost cost a team that started 7-2, 9, something like that, right? A team that started atop the AFC standings. It almost caused them to miss the playoffs altogether. So hopefully McDaniel has learned a lot from his rookie season as a head coach, and hopefully he's not going to be so stubborn in these situations, and he'll be willing and ready and able to throw that changeup, like you were saying, Jake.
And that is the key, according to us. But everyone out there watching, listening, shout out Josh Houts for hitting that retweet button, brought in some viewers for Twitter. I hope you guys are all working your way home after a long day of work. Hopefully we were able to make your trips a little shorter. And two, if you're liking what you're listening to, be sure to check out Dolphins Detail on YouTube, where we're going through this down to the details series about every single position group. I highly recommend it. We've been putting in a lot of work. I think it's been a lot of fun. But Merrick, our first show on Twitter, you didn't cry. You must be feeling pretty good.
Oh, I feel great. I feel great, baby. I got my Sonic drink. Sponsor us, Sonic. Go ahead. Give us some of that change. We'll put you over here. It's Diet Coke for everybody that's worried about my figure. So settle down out there, Twitterverse.
They're always looking out for you. But for Dolphins Detail, Merrick, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone out there watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, fins up.
Fins up.